And so Councilmember Daysog, you pulled this item. I'll start with you.
Great. Okay. Always need to make sure. Well, first of all, I want to say thank you very much to Mr. Hudson and Ms. Taylor for leading the efforts in what appears to be to improve the way in which City Hall reflects, interacts, and substantively engages the diversity that is clearly in the midst of the city of Alameda. The reason why I pulled this is twofold. One is just to kind of introduce what this project is all about. But second of all, just to make a comment to encourage our partners that if part of the strategy and plan is going to include like background reports with regard to, different trends within the city of Alameda, broader trends like, demographic trends or things like that, or health related trends, any kind of data related things, that we make sure that we provide the kind of some kind of analytic context to the data. For example, it's altogether possible that the African American population in the city of Alameda is low relative to a lot of East Bay cities. But when you compare it to other benchmarks like the county or different parts of Alameda County subregions, maybe we're not that different. And with regard to health related outcomes, we want to take a, we certainly want to take a look at, if you're going to include, I don't know if you will, but if you do include health related data that that demonstrates that demographics of different demographics seems to be experiencing disparate kinds of health outcomes, that we kind of explain that, and that we just don't automatically say that, well, that's because of racism. I mean, it could be, but so long as that we have a range of perspectives as to, what are the underlying issues that might explain the situations that we see. We certainly, that's the type of report that we want. But by the same token, if there are issues with regard to race, if there are issues with regard to prejudice, obviously, we need to call it as we see it. But I just worry that, and a lot of people tend to, like, for whatever reason, like to try to pigeonhole the city of Alameda as a place that's far behind the times. And having grown up here in Alameda, I've seen our city grow tremendously. Particularly in terms of, like, for example, who's been representing the citizens here on City Council since 1996. I mean, the tremendous diversity that this council and many of our commissions have reflected. And so, but by the same token, we have, difficult situations as late as, the early 1990s, when, we had situations where police were using their radios and transmitting certain messages that were very offensive. So we don't want to shy away from it. But by the same token, I'm looking to your organization to when you provide the data, to provide that context. So let me just, in my 1 minute time, let me give a quick example. For example, oftentimes people will say, well, Alameda's neighborhoods are in the East End, the more affluent East End. There's not as many African-American or Latino homeowners there. That may very well be. I don't know. The data may show that, but we want to take a look at that, for example, in a comparative perspective. That would be one way to look at it. But then we also want to explain, well, how is it possible, for a place to be not well represented in light of all the, de jure changes that have happened, which you're all familiar with, the state laws and everything that have happened since at least the mid 1960s. So it's that kind of conversation that we don't automatically say, well, the first site only has 1% African Americans, therefore it's racism. I don't know. It might be more complex than that. So that's all I'm encouraging, and I have no doubt that that your organization, coming from UC Berkeley or affiliated with UC Berkeley, obviously would pursue that. Thank you.